Yeah, this one seems mean. Hello, I'm the Irish guy, right? Today, I'm going to take a look at one player who every Premier League club must sell this summer. No questions asked. And yes, I know some of these suggestions are going to make some of you angrily spit toast at your screen. Right, let's go. Arsenal, Leandro Trossard. Yeah, this one does feel mean. For me to suggest that Arsenal kick out a man who might have just scored the most important Premier League goal of all time, it makes me sound like I'm colder than a teddy bear who doesn't love you back. It makes me sound like some sort of heartless ogre who chooses to noisily munch a McDonald's outside the window of an orphanage. But let's be real here. If Arsenal want to dominate Europe for years to come, and even me saying that out loud sounds ridiculous, right? Trying to imagine the Gunners as kings of football when their fan base is known for being more frustrated than someone trying to play the piano with no fingers. It's almost as stupid a suggestion as a film studio saying that Paul Rudd should be a superhero. But yes, if Arsenal want to dominate Europe, then they have no business continuing to pay a soon-to-be 32-year-old winger wages of £180,000 a week. I actually think that Trossard was incredibly lucky to cling on long enough to experience this fantastic season, because I really thought the Gunners would have sold him by now. But look, he has been a very good signing, but this feels like a tap-in of a business decision. You either sell him this summer, or lose him for free next summer, or you extend his contract where he pockets £10 million a year. Chuck on the fact that he's going through a divorce and was apparently seen in a nightclub with Catwoman of the Batman films, who honestly must now be older than his mum, then yeah, I'd imagine this man is about to endure a sleazy summer where he'll be swiping through granny Tinder in America. If you get an offer of £20 million, basically wiping out what you paid Brighton for him, it'd be an incredible deal. Aston Villa, Leon Bailey. Leon Bailey's time at Aston Villa is up. Look, isn't it funny how Aston Villa currently have in their possession two wingers who were once seen as unbelievable Bundesliga wonder kids in both Leon Bailey and Jadon Sancho, and yet now neither one of them has scored a Premier League goal this season, and yeah, are seen as two wasted talents who've got the end product of squash smarties. And it really does look like Roma have got the better end of the mid-season swap, sending back a Bailey who couldn't score in Italy. Villa give them Daniel Malen instead, and that man has exploded with 14 goals in 18 games for Roma. Whilst Bailey is just a total Villa afterthought, someone who these days is about as terrifying to opposition defenders as a squirrel beanie baby. He's had a disappointing season and he's on wages of £120,000 a week. So when his contract is up in a year, sell, sell, sell. Even if you get £10 million from him off someone like Monaco, I promise you, sell. Bournemouth, Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams is going to have the summer of his life. Look, I know American interest in soccer is minimal, but make no mistake, if the USA have a brilliant World Cup run on home soil, and don't forget, they are coached by someone who took Spurs, yes, Spurs, to a Champions League final, then their players are suddenly going to have beefed up hype. And Tyler Adams is somebody who's already attracted big boy interest before. Come on, 3 years ago, he was midway through with actual Chelsea medical. The guy had probably already learned the lunch lady's name. He'd probably already snagged the Twix out of the club canteen, only for negotiations to break down, shuffling him back to Leeds. But I think, considering he's been utterly dogged by injuries at Bournemouth, then the Cherries Chiefs are probably hoping that he captains the USA to, like, the quarterfinals at least. Because then I promise you, I mean, if he had big clubs sniffing around him before, then after having a huge summer on the world stage, then I guarantee you, he is 100% getting a switch to someone like Manchester United. He's a good player, but inside the last 3 years, he has missed 66 Premier League games through injury. He's 27 years old with just 2 years left on his Bournemouth deal. So if he can beast the World Cup group stage, and you can get 40 million for him, doubling what you paid Leeds, then it's a no-brainer. Do it. Brentford, Igor Thiago. Okay, this one sounds weird, because Igor Thiago has had a monstrous season of his life, 22 goals in the Premier League, and I'm saying that Brentford should sell? Yes, absolutely. The guy's gone from a total unknown to now, he could be scoring goals for Brazil at the actual World Cup, and I'm sorry, but after pushing Haaland all the way, if he can be Carlo Ancelotti's main man for the most iconic football nation in the world, then I'm telling you, with how rare proper goal machines are these days, then Brentford could absolutely be looking at taking £90 million from someone like Barcelona. Sell! Because if there's one club who knows how to replace strikers, it's Brentford. They're like the Premier League answer to Atletico Madrid. Having a 20-goal season for Brentford is cute, but it's not rare. Ollie Watkins, Ivan Toney, and Johan Wissa have all been touched by the magical Brentford bug, turning into superheroes overnight. They've had 20-goal seasons and been sold, and Brentford have been fine. So yes, sell Thiago for mental money. Brighton, Matt O'Reilly. Remember what I said about Adams being one of those players who'll always have big club interest? Yeah, for some reason, European bigwigs have been obsessed obsessed with Matt O'Reilly. And I have no idea why, because no matter how much of a hole his career is in, he will still always get massive clubs ringing up his agent. I mean, for somebody who literally spent 6 months just training in a park back in 2020 after his Fulham release, back when he probably wasn't even famous enough to score a free pizza, then it's insane how now he's got so many secret admirers. This is someone who, while at Celtic, Atalanta bid 5 times 4. Juventus were constantly on the phone. He goes to Brighton and flops, but still bags a loan move to Marseille. And even now, despite being lucky if he can score 1-minute cameos off the bench, he's apparently still of huge interest to Atletico Madrid. I don't get it. Are all these chairmen of super clubs just getting in touch just because their mums have got a crush on the guy? For some reason, the O'Reilly hype just will not go away. And so yeah, it's a no-brainer. Despite Brighton thinking this guy is just a handsome banana, oh no, European giants are still obsessed with him. But Brighton having O'Reilly kind of reminds me of when I was a kid who shockingly wasn't into football, and everyone in the class was losing their mind over me getting a rare Vinicius in my sticker pack. I didn't understand why everyone was freaking out. I didn't know who he was, but oh boy, I was like Frodo with the ring. I was gonna guard that sticker with my life because it suddenly and briefly made me cool. I mean, I remember one guy being so salty that I wouldn't give it away. He literally said,
"You don't deserve to have that sticker because you don't like football."
Yeah. Who's laughing now? Still nobody. Burnley Kyle Walker. Does Kyle Walker really seem like the type of personality you want to have in the championship? Look, he was a great player when he was surrounded by elite footballers, but you absolutely do not want to build your team around a 36-year-old right back. It would be insane, honestly. Burnley, you won't get much for him. Maybe £500,000 if you're lucky. But just kick this celebrity headache out to Turkey and honestly, find yourself a right back, a hungry right back, 15 years younger. Chelsea, Liam Delap. I mean, it seems harsh to dump someone just 1 year after the biggest move of his life, but I'm sorry, 1 goal? 1 Premier League goal? That's Matthias Kesman numbers. But at least he scored in a cup final. I knew Liam Delap would flop, but hey, it looked like he was proving me at least a little bit wrong when he scored a goal at the Club World Cup early doors. Yeah, he's done it twice since, against Fulham and weirdly, Barcelona. How have both Delap and Elanga helped themselves to rare goals against actual Barcelona this season? Weird. But look, I think Delap is only good as a starter, like we saw at Ipswich, but bringing him off the bench as an impact sub, it does not work because without a run of games, he does look like a stiff, podgy postman. I don't know whether it's because he sulks on the bench when he's a sub, but when he comes on, he looks no more dangerous than a pencil case. Look, at least he's not on ludicrous wages, just £100,000 a week, but considering he's contracted to the club until 2031, you can still get decent money for him. Maybe even back off Ipswich. Wait until August and I promise you, if Newcastle were desperate enough to pay £55 million for Johan Wiese with 1 year left on his contract on deadline day, then some other panicking mug will probably give you enough money so you can make a profit on Delap. Maybe even Brentford. Crystal Palace, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Crystal Palace are in an awkward position because Jean-Philippe Mateta was not supposed to be here. He was practically sold AC Milan in January, and the big money signing of Jørgen Strand Larsen was evidence of Palace moving on. So having him sticking around, they're just trotting on each other's toes. It's like some woman after a divorce finds a new boyfriend, but still has to let her ex-hubby crash on the couch. That's gonna make for a frosty breakfast when her boyfriend and ex-husband are having to pass each other the box of Weedy Bix. Look, Mateta's gonna bow out with probably a European medal, which is a much nicer way than he was scuttling out the back door in January. But still, this summer is the right time for him to move on. Sell. Everton, Dwight McNeil. Look, it's quite ironic that after a failed switch to Crystal Palace in January, it was only then that Dwight McNeil started to get a run of starts on the Everton wing, despite his girlfriend crying on the internet, acting like him being forced to stay in Merseyside was like he'd just been told to spend 3 months sleeping in a cave with a bear. Look, he's being put back on the bench recently, so yes, you do not need the prolonged headache of his missus continuing to act like he's been kept captive by pirates and only being fed his toenails for lunch, so yes. With his contract expiring next summer, sell now. Although it is kind of crazy if he's apparently still on wages of £25,000 a week, he makes 10 times less than what Jack Grealish does a week. I mean, I know he's never been much of a goal threat, but for someone who's got nearly 300 Premier League matches under his belt, then £25,000 a week does seem shockingly low. Okay, I'm beginning to see why his girlfriend is gutted that his Palace move fell through, because she was probably getting sick of him constantly asking her to chip in for a McDonald's on date night. Fulham Kevin. Kevin has been a flop. Let's just call it for what it is. This is an exciting club record £40 million scoop from Shakhtar. A Brazilian winger, Willian the sequel? No. He's played 24 times, only scoring once. Admittedly a banger at Old Trafford, but otherwise, it just hasn't worked. I don't think it will work. Cut your losses and sell to a Brazilian club in the summer. Leeds, Joel Perreault. Look, a lot has changed at Leeds this season. And because they've been doing so well, nobody's really noticed the guys who've been sacrificed to the bench. But one of them is Joel Perreault, a championship superstar for Leeds, cracking in 19 goals up front last season. He was another championship goal machine, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin has stolen his job. I mean, this is somebody who crashed in 4 goals in a single match against Stoke a year ago. But this season, he's a third choice striker. He's been fit all season long and yet hasn't been given more than a 6-minute cameo since November. He hasn't played more than 17 matches in a Premier League match since the first away day when they were crushed by Arsenal, when he probably didn't even touch the ball. Calvert-Lewin has absolutely ruined this man's life. The only thing he's done this season is turning his back on the Dutch to declare for Suriname, and he's probably only done that because he's bored. It's just something to do. Look, his contract is up in a year, so this is such an obvious sell. Give him to Middlesbrough or something. Liverpool, Virgil van Dijk. Yes. This one seems extremely wild. This one feels like I've just banged my head on a coffee table, so now I think the moon is an egg. Look, I know this one might seem like a wild suggestion, but lads, I think it makes sense. This is the end of the Liverpool era. Both Salah and Robertson are leaving. Alisson has got Juventus on the phone. If those 3 go, then guess what, lads? There's only one real face of the Klopp era left, and that is a 35-year-old centre-back on wages of £350,000 a week. Look, Van Dijk has been a total legend for the club, but who here genuinely thinks he's played even well enough this season to command that sort of wage? £350,000 a week. For that money, you're expecting, without a doubt, the best defender in the world. He is still good, yes, but I think next season, I think he nosedives, and I think it's gonna be sad to watch. It reminds me when Alex Ferguson's Man United side very quickly broke up, and some players were sold too early, right? Like when Nemanja Matic went into Milan at just 32. Yeah, no. He only had 1 season left of the tank anyway, and mostly humiliated himself in Serie A. It would be a brave decision to sell Van Dijk. Very, very brave. But I think he's still a big enough worldwide name to command serious Saudi money. Again, you either sell him this summer to someone like Al Nassr for 50 mil, or you lose another one of your Mount Rushmore goats for free. Or you agree to extend his £350,000 a week contract until he's what? 37? 38? That is crazy. Lads, Liverpool have lost so many modern day legends on the cheap. If Van Dijk goes at the end of his contract next summer, then you would have lost Salah, Mane, Firmino, Trent, Robertson, Milner, Wijnaldum, Henderson, Lallana, Sturridge, Chan, Origi, Alisson, and Van Dijk, all for less money than what you once paid Southampton for Van Dijk. That is insane. For a bunch of undisputed legends to fetch just 73 million in total is financial lunacy. 10 of those players would have left at the end of their contracts. 10. Incredible. So no, get some proper money for a legend. Man City, Nathan Ake. It's just time. Look, Nathan Ake has done brilliantly well to carve out 6 years during the most successful ever Manchester City era. Not a bad way to bounce back from a grim Bournemouth relegation. And considering he managed to survive interest from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that summer, to instead go on to win, what, 4, maybe 5 league titles and a treble. Incredible way to bounce back from Chelsea rejection. But look, it is time. He's 31. His contract is up in the summer, and look, he's still a useful player to have around. But with Josko Vardiol coming back from injury, someone who can also play centre-back and left-back, but to a much higher level, and chuck in the fact that he's also 7 years younger, then yeah, sorry, Ake, but maybe see if you can squeak a move back to Bournemouth for like £15 million. Man United, Mason Mount. Sell! 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 Now! This is a massive, huge priority, because Champions League qualification is brilliant for Manchester United, right? But boy, does it bring about some contractual headaches, because this now means that Mason Mount's wages will have skyrocketed to £250,000 a week. Yes, this permanent bench warmer, someone who's consistently wasted the last 4 years of his career, and who all of a sudden is a shockingly old 27 years of age. And whilst he must jealously be watching his childhood buddy Declan Rice try to conquer the world, when he was originally the smug one in the friendship who just won the Champions League, whilst poor old Dex was slumming it with West Ham, yeah, now Mount's career is in the mud. But the fact that he's going to receive a £100,000 a week pay increase to £250k a week is such stupid financial recklessness. He must be doing cartwheels around his living room. I remember when Wayne Rooney had to threaten to move to Man City to force Man United to give him that sort of money. And that's Wayne Rooney, so for Mount to bag this, it's incredible, but you just can't. You can't allow this. As the proper football club, we want to be taken seriously. You cannot be seen to be giving £2 million away every single month to put in the pocket of this waster on the bench. He's not going to want to leave. Are you mad? He owns the iconic number 7 shirt and earns more now than what Cristiano Ronaldo is getting paid in his first spell at the club with that number on his back. But I don't care. I don't care what you do. Threaten to eat his mum in a pie. Get him out the door. I don't care how you do it, but you have to. You must sell to Saudi. Newcastle, Anthony Gordon. I'm not even mad about this one. I want this deal to happen. Anthony Gordon Gordon is an overrated munchkin who, for some reason, he has a bunch of European elite clubs sniffing around him. I don't know why. They must have been fooled with the stat padding numbers from bagging penalties against naff Champions League teams. But hey, sell him. Sell him for big money. And Gordon wants to go, of course he does. I don't blame him. It's Bayern Munich. The chance to maybe win the treble for a club who are probably the most fun side in the world to play in. I mean, it might seem daunting to get into such a ridiculous team, but hey, this isn't the first time Gordon has backed himself to wedge Luis Diaz out of the team. I know, he was ready to rise to the challenge when Liverpool wanted him during Euro 2024. So yes, if we can get a big fat paycheck, absolutely sell. Nottingham Forest, Elliot Anderson. Elliot Anderson will never be worth this sort of money ever again. I never ever thought when Nottingham Forest stole in to pinch him from Newcastle's bench, I never thought that one day he'd be worth close to £100 million. But yeah, that's his price tag, and apparently Man City want to pay it, which is just a sign of the times. I remember when Man City were ready to write that sort of paycheck for Kaka. Now it's for Anderson. It's crazy. Absolutely nuts. So yes, sell. Sunderland, Bertrand Traore. Look, I know Bertrand Traore featured quite a bit for Sunderland at the start of the season, but he's been destroyed by injury since AFCON. He's the 30-year-old winger who hasn't settled at any of his last 5 clubs since leaving Lyon. Sell. Tottenham, Richarlison. Are Tottenham fans not sick of constantly seeing Richarlison's moody face? I knew this man would be a £60 million flop from the minute Spurs bought him from Everton. And look, for a man with obvious juicy Samba talent, remember his incredible goal against Crystal Palace on the opening day of the season, which looked like he turned a corner. I mean, Thomas Frank is a coach who's transformed so many strikers into beasts, so now it looked like he was finally going to be the one to unlock Richarlison's potential. Nah, it never happened, and he's got a year left in his deal, so sell him back to Brazil. West Ham, Jared Bowen. Look, I'm only saying this because I'm assuming West Ham go down. And if you do, next season will be ugly. I can predict boycotts because most of the Hammers fans resent their soulless stadium anyway. So I can imagine a lot will vote with their feet and the stadium will be like 2/3 full. And so think of the money that you will lose every week. And so yeah, the last thing you need to be doing is paying any player wages of £150,000 a week, even if he is a modern day club captain legend. Look, he's not the only high earner who needs to go. No, but honestly, if you continue to keep making this man incredibly rich, you could drive yourself into a financial nightmare. The good news though is that he is a current England international with a contract until 2030. I mean, whoever got him to sign that length of a deal in 2023, give yourself a big fat pat on the back, because despite him turning 30 this year, oh no, he's still an England international with 4 long years left in his deal. You could get 50 million for him, which would surely make him one of the most expensive players for his age of all time. Come on, how many other 29-year-olds have 4 years left on their contracts? Yeah, it's a sad way for him to leave the club, but honestly, you have to sell. Wolves, João Gomes. Yeah, similarly, João Gomes is too good for the championship. A Brazilian international baller, but like Bowen, he also has 4 long years left in his deal. So you can fetch some big money, probably 50 million as well. Sell. Anyway, that's Stevie. Let me know. I know some of you will be angry at some of those suggestions. Definitely the Liverpool fans, but let me know. I think these make sense, but maybe they don't. Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to click on the I'll talk shit a while. And oh yes, I keep forgetting about the milk.